Some of my students are working on the shades of meaning activity in Lexia, and shades, we've got shades of blue behind this writing here. So we've got a little bit blue and we've got very blue, and that's what we mean with shades of meaning. A lot of them mean a little bit or very. So when we think about a little bit or a lot, we get words like not blue, or not blue enough if we wanted it to be very blue, not hot, or not hot enough. Hardly. At the top it's hardly blue at all. At the bottom we can tell it's blue. Very. Oh, that's interesting. My bullet points are popping up in strange places. Something can be too or too much. It could be too blue. I don't know if you get too blue. Things can definitely be too hot or too cold. They can be slightly coloured, slightly expensive, slightly annoying, like my bullet points. Hypo is a prefix. Some of you have studied prefixes. That means not enough. Hyper, which means too much. Or extremely, which means really very, very. You know, we can say something's very, very, very hot, or we can say it's extremely hot. So we're trying it out at the moment with temperature. Very cold, we might say, or cold, or a bit cold, or slightly warm, or hot, or extremely hot. But we can choose, we can convey these things also by tone of voice, which we often do. We can say it's cold, or it's cold, and we know it's very cold. We can say it's hot, or it's hot, and we know it's hot. Or we can choose our words so that we don't need to use things like very too often and get bored with them. So we can say it's freezing, and we've got that expression there. So a lot of the things at the extremes of the shades of meaning, at the very little or the very, very much, we could write them with exclamation marks because they convey that very strong meaning. If it's not freezing but it's cold, we might say it's chilly, or we might say it's cool, which isn't quite as cold as chilly. We might say it's lukewarm, which is just a little bit warm. Another word for that is tepid. We might say it's cozy, or if it's the weather, we might say it's summery if it's really quite warm. Or we might say it's scorching if it's really hot, and then we get that expression going, and we need that exclamation mark for the extremes of the shades of meaning. So this time we're going to look at cost. Something might be very cheap, or a bit cheap, or it might be just the normal price, or it might be a little bit expensive, or it might be expensive, or it might be too expensive. And you're going to leave it in the shop and walk away, that expensive. But we've got other ways that we can express this to achieve our shades of meaning. So something's a bargain. Once again, exclamation mark when it's at the top end or the bottom end of our shades of meaning. We often say it in quite a dramatic way. It can be affordable, which means it's a bit cheap. It can be reasonably priced. Not great, but you know, reasonable. It can be at market rates, normal price. That's just what you'd expect to pay for that thing. It can be quite dear. It can be very pricey. And that's one that really depends on your tone of voice, what you mean by very pricey. If you say, oh, that's very pricey, it just means it's a bit more than I want to pay. But if you say, that is very pricey, you really don't want to pay that for whatever you're going to buy. Or you might say it's exorbitant, or it's daylight robbery, or I don't know what they were thinking. They charged an arm and a leg, and you're complaining about it, and you're talking in a dramatic way. And again, we might use our exclamation mark. So I hope that tells you a little bit about what shades of meaning are and helps you to understand the activity. It's quite fun to think of these lists of shades of meaning. You might like to write some for me and email them in, or you might like to work them into some of your stories. Enjoy thinking about words. Bye for now.